Hello, my name is Enrique Manlapid. I am an elementary special education teacher for Patterson Public Schools. In this presentation, we will go over ways on how to maximize distance learning for special needs students. To begin a school year of remote or hybrid learning, you'll want to build a strong homeschool connection for each family. We need to consider each family as a conduit of learning for the student, as they will greatly assist the student in engaging with the online activities. Therefore, it's important to build good family communication. You can use email, phone, and you can use a service such as Google Voice, which is free if you use a personal Google account. You can also text message to families using a service such as Remind, and also use a learning management system to post any announcements for your virtual classroom. This leads me to my first remote teaching strategy, and it's to create a Google form to collect family contact information, student demographics, communication preferences, as in how do they want to be contacted throughout this remote or hybrid learning period, and any background information on the student from the family's perspective, such as their interests, their dislikes, and also any activities they may engage in during their free time and any sports they may play. The second remote teaching strategy is to set clear expectations early in the year. So you want to clearly state your role as the teacher, the role of the student, the role of the family, and the role of support staff such as paraprofessionals and also any related service providers that may be servicing any of your students. You want to post all these expectations on a class website so it can be easily referred to, or you could also record a welcome video where you're outlining all of these expectations so everyone knows what they're doing throughout this period of the school year. Next is to create a virtual classroom using a learning management system and video conferencing. There are various learning management systems out there. ClassDojo and Seesaw are better optimized for students with special needs and also for younger learners. Google Classroom is one of the more popular platforms out there, as it's essentially free with the G Suite for Education accounts. And also there are Schoology, Canvas, and Blackboard. So definitely use one of these platforms, especially if it is being provided by your school or district. You want to match LMS function to student needs. So students may need help accessing the LMS, so you have to provide some type of training to the families on how to help their child get access into the LMS, or if your district actually provides clever badges, definitely use that, as they can easily sign on to their platforms. Some platforms may have simpler functions for students to use, such as ClassDojo and Seesaw. Students can digitally write their answers on worksheets. And if you are tied down to a certain LMS, you can definitely integrate two platforms to expand functionality. So if your district is a Google district and you are using Google Classroom, you could sort of expand the functionality of Google Classroom by assigning, for example, assignments on Seesaw, and then using Google Classroom to manage the submission of the assignments and also to grade the assignments. And an important thing here is that students should not work in more than two LMS platforms. We want to keep it simple for the students, and we want them to master at least one or two of those platforms, but they don't need to work on more than two. There are essentially three big players in the online video conferencing space right now in education. It's Google Meet, Zoom, and Microsoft Teams. This leads me to my third remote teaching strategy, and it is to incorporate interactive elements to video instruction. You can use services such as Google Jamboard for an interactive whiteboard, Nearpod, so students can be engaged in answering questions throughout a presentation. And Pear Deck is somewhat similar to Nearpod, however, it's highly integrated with Google Slides. Here are some tips for video instruction. First is to follow district policy on video conferencing. Next is you want to clearly communicate student and family expectations early and how to log into the platform and also the behavior that you expect during live video instruction. You'll also want to utilize a headset for clear audio so you can hear your students clearly, and also your students can hear you clearly, as you can have a microphone that is dedicated and closer to your mouth with a headset. And lastly, you want to combine video instruction with an interactive whiteboard or presentation, such as the tools I've outlined in the previous slide. Once you have the basics of a virtual classroom set up, it is time to integrate online resources to grow a community of engaged learners. One tool you can use is Flipgrid. Flipgrid is essentially a video discussion platform in which teachers create a prompt for students to record a video response. Students can respond to each other using video, which can foster discussion between students. Flipgrid encourages practice of communication and collaboration skills, and there are a few activities you can do using Flipgrid, such as practice reading fluency. Students can explain their solutions to a math problem, and you could use Flipgrid as a platform for show and tell. In the online learning environment, videos can help supplement learning. Edpuzzle allows teachers to embed questions at certain points in a video, which students must answer in order to continue watching the video. Edpuzzle adds a level of accountability, as you can collect data on student understanding of video content. Simply watching online videos can be somewhat of a passive task, but Edpuzzle adds a level of interactivity that keeps students engaged. Edpuzzle works well with YouTube videos, so throughout the video you could add various questions, such as multiple choice, an open-ended question, and you could also add notes to it, which would be a commentary or some type of audio note that you want the students to pay attention to. So you can simply just play the video. So let me just lower down the sound, and let's say you want to pick a certain point in the video. So over here, I'll just pick that point, and then you could add a multiple choice question and just hit save. And then in that point of the video, in order for students to proceed, they're going to have to answer this question: who is the main character of the story? Once they answer it, they will continue throughout the rest of the video. So if I want to tell students to look at this part of the video, put in an interesting part that you want the students to pay attention to, and that will basically stop the video and tell students to look at this interesting part or any other notes that you may have. And the last type of thing that you can add on to an Edpuzzle video is an open-ended question. And hit save, and that's basically it. And you could hit finish and assign the video to your students, and you can actually collect data on your students on how they did for each question. Next is Kahoot. Kahoot is an online quiz game application. It can be integrated in both live and asynchronous lessons. Question types include multiple choice and true/false. Kahoot is great for group reviews and individual checks for understanding. Now let's talk about choice boards. Choice boards empower students to make choices and take ownership of their learning. It is important to use principles of UDL to guide planning for the variation of activities on the board. Choice boards can be created using different online platforms such as Google Slides, Seesaw, and a class website. Choice boards allow you to share resources with your colleagues, as you can easily collaborate and share the online choice boards. Lastly, choice boards can be used to address student technology issues. You can plan for activities on a choice board that requires different levels of technology, which may include some offline tasks. This variation in choice is again helpful for students sharing a device within their family. So here's an example of a choice board using Google Slides. You can create the board by simply clicking on Insert, Table, and selecting the dimensions that you want for your choice board. So over here I have a 3x3 choice board. You can color code the cells on the slide by simply clicking on Fill Color, and you can select a color right over here, and you can group certain activities on your choice board. So over here I have purple is going to be ELA activities, and I'll pick blue for the math activities, and the offline activities I can simply code as green. So for an online choice board, you're basically creating a hyperdoc. So over here I have words or text converted into a hyperlink. So for this one, if I want them to read this book or listen to a read aloud of this book, I can simply select it and then click on Insert Link, and then I can simply copy and paste the link that I want them to go to. So let me do that one more time. I highlight the text and I just click Insert Link, and I can simply just paste the link in there and just apply. So now once the students get onto the choice board, they can just click on it and click on the link. You could also hyperlink images. So over here I have this hyperlinked over to a online game. So for this one, I want to hyperlink this plus symbol as to go over to their addition practice. So I can simply do the same thing. Click on the image, click on Insert Link, and then I could simply paste it. And now the image is now hyperlinked. And as I said in the previous slide, you can simply insert a few activities in here that are offline to give your students a greater choice in the activities that they pick on from the choice board. If you want to know which activities the students have completed, you can insert some type of a sticker or emoji or whatnot, and students can simply place the sticker onto the activities that they have completed. And with the integration of Google Classroom, they can submit this choice board, and you can actually see what they are doing and assess what they are doing at home. Student engagement is an issue in the online instructional environment, especially for students with special needs. They might need that little motivation, and in most classrooms, in the physical classroom, we do have contingencies in place, such as PBSIS or a treasure box, to encourage good behaviors in the classroom for students to complete their work. So one example of a contingency program that you could have in your virtual classroom space are virtual token boards. So you can either have these virtual token boards for the entire class, or you can have it for the for specific students. And you can easily create these token boards online using Google Slides. And you can use these elements as the tokens. So for this one, I simply have these smiley faces, and if they collect all 5 tokens, which I'm just demonstrating right over here, they can simply get one of their choices that the class popularly selected. So sometimes it can be 1 minute of Paw Patrol, or it can be an online video such that's pulled from a GoNoodle or from something from YouTube that the students really like to watch. However, for rewards that are a little bit more effective and powerful, if you can definitely build strong relationships with the families and parents, I highly suggest that you do that and try to develop rewards that they can actually redeem with their parents, and you have that strong connection between the online instructional space and with their families at home, and I think that will be a better way for them to connect. But this is one example of how to engage with students online, is with the use of token boards and contingency plans. Next, I'm going to go over on how you can digitize PDF pages of a workbook to create interactive activities on Google Slides. I will need to convert these PDF pages into PNG files that I can use in Google Slides. I'll be using PDF to PNG.com. It is very simple to use. All you need to do is upload the files and wait for it to convert into a zip folder of all the PNG pages of the workbook. Once it's done converting, you can simply download the zip file of all the pages. Once you download it, you will have a folder of PNG files, and each PNG file will be a page in the workbook. So you will need this to create your worksheets on Google Slides. To convert your workbook pages into an interactive workbook page on Google Slides, simply open up a blank Google Slides presentation and title your presentation to the assignment title. Since we are working with standard workbook pages, I highly recommend that you change the page setup. So go to File, Page Setup, and click on Custom, and you will just change it to a standard letter size page. And now your slide is in the form of an 8.5 by 11 worksheet. Now you want to delete the text boxes that are already on it. To add the PNG file into the Google slide, just click on Background, choose Image, and make sure you upload the pages from the workbook. So I remember that it was page 19 from the workbook, so I'll be using page 19. I'll simply upload it onto Google Slide. Now, to add the interactive features, for this one, it's simply a fill-in-the-blank activity. So I will click on Shapes and click on the rectangular box, and I will just create the box right on the lines. So for this one, I will just click on the name line and just click and drag a box onto the name line. What I would do is to change this into a color that's more visible for students to see. So usually I pick this theme color of yellow, and also what I would do is make it transparent. So in order to make it transparent, just click on the plus button in the custom section and lower down the transparency. And now you have a transparent shape on your worksheet. So when students double click on it, they know to enter their name. But I want to also change the text size of the shape. So just click on it and also just increase the font size. And what I would do is just simply copy it and paste it onto the worksheet and click and drag to put it in another location where I want students to write their answers. So I'll just put it right over here. I would copy another box and put it right over here. And I just continue doing that for all the spots and blanks that I want the students to put their answer. Now, when a student is ready to put in their answer, all they have to do is just double click on it and enter their answer. So I'll leave this blank because I will show you how to upload an assignment into Google Classroom. So I have another type of activity. It is an activity that requires a student to draw circles. Since drawing on Google Slides is challenging, I will show you another way to make it into a click and drop activity. So I will just simply create a new slide, delete the text boxes, and add another page. So this activity requires students to draw a circle around one of the pictures. So to make it easy for them, especially for our younger learners, you will want to create a shape for them so they can easily click and drag. So go back to Shapes and click on the circle and drag a circle. So I think this one is a little bit too big. I think that's a good size. And you'll want to change the fill of this circle so it's transparent for the student. And also you might want to change the color of it and also the thickness of the shape. So I usually put it around a 3 or 4. And I think that's a good shape. There are 4 circles that they're going to have to draw. So I will simply just copy this 3 more times. Now that the circles are all there, they can simply click and drag the circles in the appropriate spots. So some people, they like to stack them right on top of each other, but you could also just leave them out on the side. And you could also put the instructions on the side also. You do have some extra room if you place interactive pieces outside of the slide. So you can simply put the instructions right there, click and drag the circles so they know to click and drag the circles to their answer. And since this is also fill in the blank, I can simply go back to the previous slide, copy the same shape, and paste it on this worksheet. And then I can also just copy it several times. Actually, there are 2 more questions here that require them to circle, so I'll just make sure that I copy it. And that is pretty much it on how to create a interactive worksheet on Google Slides. Boom cards have recently become more popular with special education teachers and teachers in early elementary grades. Essentially, boom cards are self-grading activities that add a level of gamification. So if you have physical task cards in your classroom, you can basically convert them into online interactive boom cards. It can be used to provide data on student understanding of a topic or concept. Boom cards are a good way to give students some extra practice and for you to collect data on your students. As we are in a remote learning phase, it might be difficult for you to give your students paper packets or for you to collect any written work from them for the time being, especially if you're in a full remote situation. So boom cards kind of makes it a little bit easier on you, and especially for students with fine motor issues, that boom cards really makes it easy on both the student and you to collect some data. So here's an example of a boom card. So boom cards are essentially online task cards, and the students have the option to go through some multiple choice questions, and you can set these task cards. So we'll actually take a look at the finished product, and then we'll go in a little bit deeper on how we create these boom cards. So over here is a multiple choice question. You can put in the text, you can even put in pictures and some multiple choice options. So there's that audible sound. Over here you can upload a worksheet, and you can do a drag and drop situation where the students simply drags and drop their choice. Another option is for errorless learning. All they have to do is just say the name and then click on the word or the button that you have. So this is a good example of errorless learning. You could also have multiple choice options for the images themselves. So if you have the word mop and you want the students to select the word mop, you simply have it available for them in these 4 images, and then they simply click on it. There's also an option for them to fill in the blanks, and for this one they're going to label the picture, which is a doll. And the nice thing about boom cards, you could either record yourself in a video, or you can actually post a YouTube video on the boom card. And again, you can do a drag and drop option. So these items, they can be clicked and dragged. So when you click and drag right over there, and then you just submit. And now we're going to go into the studio. And in the studio, that's where you're going to actually create these boom cards. So once I click on studio and go down here to make decks, and you'll have the option to create a new deck. But over here, I'm just going to open up our boom card that we just went through earlier. And this is how you simply create a boom card. Over here, you have the entire deck of 6 cards. You have the option to change the text over here. You can change the text. We can add buttons to it, images. You can put captions on these pictures, fractions, multiple choice options, multiple choice pictures, fill in the blank. So let's create a new boom card right over here. So to create a new card, you simply just hit this plus button, and since I have a template card over here, it's just going to make another duplicate of that card. But since I want to change this up, I can simply just delete certain elements. I can just click delete, and you could add in your own options. So if you want to do fill in the blank, you can just click on fill in the blank, just double click on it. And let's say you want this to also be a labeling task. So you can just enter in the correct answer, hit submit, and once you're done with that, you'll have a fill in the blank option right there. And let's change the instructions to fill in the blank. So you gotta unlock the element, and then you can drag it around. So this template card, since I do have a template card, it does restrict some of the things that you can do. So you just have to unlock it, and that's good if you have several of these cards. If you have like 10 of these and they're different images, you can simply just change the image by double clicking on it and then just changing the image that you want to display, and then you can simply just change all of the options. So there are really a lot of things that you can do to a boom card, and this is a good alternative to the interactive worksheets on Google Slides, because Google Slides, it might require students to manipulate elements, and they might cause some formatting issues. They might change the shape and size. And although you can lock down certain elements, such as the background, the Boom Cards does make it a bit easier on the student, as it really restricts the options that they have. So if you just compared this task to what we showed earlier for the Google Slides, this is actually a lot more simplified for students that have maybe severe learning needs, or who might have some severe fine motor issues, and manipulating things might be challenging for them. And you still need to collect some data on your students, and this is a great way to do that. And of course, you can also make one of your PDF worksheet pages into an image, and you can simply make that into a fill in the blank page. So I pulled this from one of our reading programs, and you can simply just turn this into basically an interactive worksheet. So they can click and drag some of their options. They can fill in the blank for some of them. So when a student goes into this page, they can either click and drag. So you can either make these small enough so they can fit inside that word bank, and then it just snaps into this box. And then for this one, you could do a fill in the blank. You could also change the color and highlight the field so the students can easily see it. And once you click submit, it automatically grades it. We can't forget to address the social communication needs of exceptional learners in a virtual space. This leads me to remote teaching strategy number 4, which is to create morning check-in to support social emotional needs. You can do this by using Google Forms or Flipgrid. And in these check-ins, you can use it to basically track attendance and also monitor student well-being. Social stories can also be used as an intervention for social communication deficits of students. Social stories can serve as an important tool for people with autism, as a social story can help them understand social situations through a structured short story developed based on their unique needs. However, systematic reviews on social stories do not provide strong empirical support due to issues with experimental control, treatment fidelity, and/or generalization in most studies. However, in 2017, Zimmerman and Ledford recommend that social stories be used in conjunction with other evidence-based practices and make modifications, adaptations, and additions according to a student's performance. Book Creator is a good way to share social stories with students. So here's a social story on going to the doctor. You can edit the cover of the digital book and all of the pages within the book. There are various elements that you could add to a book, such as text, pictures, and also you can add any free hand drawings. You could also include an audio recording, so you could actually read the story, and also you could import any files directly into a book creator. So this is how it looks like from the student's perspective. They actually have the option to have the book read to them by a computer-generated voice. However, as I said earlier, you can embed audio recordings into the pages of the book. So this is how it looks like from the student's point of view. Well, this example shows how Book Creator can be used to create online social stories for your students. You can actually adapt this in other ways for language arts, science, and social studies. Good pedagogy involves teachers constantly improving current practices. Teachers rely on the experiences of colleagues and the perspective of professional organizations to make sound decisions. Although empirical evidence may be limited, the popularity of social stories lie in the personal experiences of teachers who may see positive outcomes and utilize a wide range of interventions to foster continued growth in the student based on professional judgment. Here are some additional tips for online learning success. If you have students participating asynchronously, screen recording applications are recommended. Loom is a screen recording application that is actually free if you are an education professional, so you can just use your education email address to get the pro account. There's also Screencastify, and also for more advanced users, you can actually use Open Broadcaster Software or OBS to record your screen. And the nice thing with OBS is you could actually do title overlays. So if you want to put text over your video, you can use OBS. You'll want to make some considerations about the delivery of instruction. So instruction is going to be delivered in two ways, basically, synchronous or asynchronous. Synchronous is live and asynchronous is on demand. So in simple terms, live and on demand. Synchronous is in real time with other learners. Synchronous is also involves high interaction with the teacher and classmates, and enables immediate feedback to the students as they're right there in front of you on their webcams and computers. Asynchronous is more learner-centered approach, while students can work on their own pace, and of course, when they work on their own pace, there'll also be some set deadlines, so at least they have goals that they can work towards. And also, one positive thing about asynchronous, especially for students who share a device with siblings or other family members, asynchronous might work best for them. So depending on your district's policy, you definitely want to consider these modes and definitely try to fit the mode according to student needs. Students should have some basic supplies ready, such as a dry erase board, pencils, crayons, and markers, paper, and some small objects to be used as at-home math manipulatives, especially in the areas of counting and grouping. It would be nice if the students had some tangible objects to work with at home. And also the dry erase board, if you have live lessons, they can definitely use that to engage both virtually and physically. You can engage in a shared activity with students. Here's my final thought. Remember to be flexible in remote teaching. This is every teacher's first year in full remote or hybrid instruction. So please remember to give you, your students, the families, and your administrators grace during this entire period, as we are all trying to learn how to be effective educators online, especially for our students with exceptional learning needs. Thank you for watching. My social media information is up on the screen, and I look forward to connecting more with you online. Have a great day.